The air in Chicago O'Hare International Airport crackled with chaos. Travelers hauled suitcases, voices tangled in a dozen languages, and screens blinked with flight numbers. Sarah Mitchell, 34, stood in the thick of it, her navy sweater loose over her pregnant belly, black leggings clinging to her legs, a scarf draped across her shoulders. Her brown eyes were tired, shadowed, but resolute. Her face pale, but set. One hand rested protectively on her swollen abdomen. The other gripped a small, worn satchel, its leather cracked. She moved through the crowd, dodging hurried strangers. Her pulse quick, but steady. Her boarding pass, tucked in her pocket, promised escape. A one-way flight to Dublin, leaving in 40 minutes. A new life for her and her unborn child. A chance to leave the past behind. She was so close, gates just beyond the security line, freedom within reach. But freedom, as Sarah knew, was a fragile thing. The terminal thrummed with life. A child wailed, clutching a toy plane. A businessman snapped at a gate agent. Sarah kept her head down, her steps careful, mindful of the baby inside her. The satchel hung light on her shoulder. Its contents private, sacred. She'd carried it for months, a constant companion. It wasn't the satchel that mattered most, though. It was what she carried within her, in her body and her mind. She didn't let herself think too deeply about it. Thinking would unravel her. So she focused on the security checkpoint ahead, a gauntlet of scanners and stern faces. TSA agents barked orders, their expressions blank. Sarah's breath hitched, her hand brushing her belly. Her baby kicked, a faint flutter, urging her forward. No one noticed her. No one suspected. That's how she needed it to be. She reached the checkpoint. A TSA agent, her badge reading L. Kessler, waved her forward. Bag on the belt, Kessler said, her voice flat. Sarah nodded, easing the satchel onto the conveyor, her movements slow, deliberate. Her heart ticked faster, but she forced calm. It's fine, she told herself. It's always been fine. She stepped toward the metal detector, her hand on her belly, bracing for trouble. The machine hummed, silent. No beep, no alarm. She exhaled, moving to retrieve her satchel as it emerged, untouched. Dublin was waiting. A new city, a new name, a chance to heal. She was almost there. Then the world tilted. A German shepherd, sleek and fierce, lunged from the shadows. Its handler, a burly man in a TSA uniform, yanked the leash, but the dog was relentless. It didn't go for the satchel. It barked, sharp and frantic, its nose pointed at Sarah's belly. Its paws scrabbled on the floor, eyes locked on her abdomen, growls rising. The terminal froze. Heads turned. Whispers erupted. What's wrong with her? A woman muttered. Is she hiding something? A man hissed. The dog's barks grew louder, primal, unyielding. Sarah stood rooted, her hands flying to her belly, shielding it. Her eyes darted left, right, searching for a way out. The handler shouted, "Step back." Kessler's boredom vanished, her hand on her radio. The air thickened, heavy with suspicion. Travelers backed away, phones out, recording. Sarah's mind raced. She couldn't let them touch her. She couldn't let them know. I haven't done anything, she said, her voice steady but thin. Her hands pressed against her belly, feeling the baby's kick. Kessler stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. Ma'am, we need to check you, she said. Sarah's jaw tightened. It's my baby, she said, her tone sharp. Leave me alone. The handler's gaze hardened. The dog doesn't bark for nothing. He snapped, his grip tight on the leash. The shepherd lunged again, barking furiously, its nose inches from her abdomen. Another agent appeared, radio crackling. The crowd pressed in, a wall of curious faces. Sarah's pulse hammered. They thought she was smuggling, concealing something dangerous. They were wrong, but they wouldn't listen. She couldn't stay. Not here. Not like this. She ran. She snatched her satchel and bolted, shoving past Kessler. Shouts exploded. Stop her! The handler released the dog, and it charged, teeth bared. Sarah sprinted through the terminal, one hand on her belly, the satchel bouncing against her hip. Her sneakers pounded the polished floor, weaving through stunned travelers. Alarms blared, shrill and piercing. Security officers swarmed, their boots thundering, radios buzzing with orders. Female, navy sweater, pregnant, a voice yelled. She's hiding something, another cried. Sarah's breath burned, her lungs aching, but she didn't stop. The dog's barks echoed, closer now, relentless. She ducked into a corridor, signs flashing overhead, gates A, B, C. The terminal was a maze, bright and suffocating. She brushed past a woman, her suitcase toppling, her gasp sharp. A child pointed wide-eyed. Sarah's heart pounded, her vision narrowing. She wasn't a criminal. She wasn't running from the law, but they wouldn't understand. Her belly, her baby, her past, they were hers to protect. She turned a corner, slamming into a luggage cart. Bags scattered, and she stumbled, pain flaring in her ankle. The dog was there, lunging, its jaws snapping inches from her. Sarah scrambled up, clutching her satchel, and ran again. A gate loomed ahead, passengers boarding for Paris. She could slip through, disappear. But security was closing in, their shouts deafening. "Stop, or we shoot," a voice roared. A guard tackled her from the side. They hit the floor hard, Sarah curling to protect her belly, the satchel pinned beneath her. Hands grabbed her arms, her legs, yanking her up. The dog circled, barking its breath hot. "Don't move," the guard bellowed. Sarah struggled, her face pressed to the cold tiles, her voice raw. "I didn't do anything," she cried. "It's my baby." They didn't listen. They dragged her to her feet, cuffs snapping around her wrists. The satchel was torn away, handed to an agent. Sarah's chest tightened, panic surging. "Don't hurt me," she pleaded, her voice breaking. "Please." The crowd filmed, whispering, judging. She was a fugitive now, a threat, a nobody. But she wasn't what they thought. She was never what they thought. The interrogation room was a prison. Small, gray, cold, with a single bulb buzzing overhead. Sarah sat at a metal table, wrists cuffed, her navy sweater damp with sweat. Her hand rested on her belly, feeling the baby's faint movements. A lifeline in the dark. The satchel lay on the floor, unopened for now. Two agents faced her. Kessler, sharp-eyed, clutching a clipboard, and Ruiz, a hulking man, his arms crossed. "What's going on?" "Mitchell," Ruiz said, his voice rough. "The dog went crazy at your stomach." Sarah stared at a scratch on the table, her jaw set. "It's my baby," she said, her voice low. "Kislaskripet." Her pen scratching. "Dogs don't bark at babies," she said. "What are you hiding?" "Nothing," Sarah said, her eyes fixed, unblinking. Her voice held, but her hands trembled in the cuffs. The clock ticked, each second a blade. Ruiz slammed the table, the sound jarring. "You ran. Pregnant or not, that's not innocent." Sarah flinched, her hand tightening on her belly. "You wouldn't understand," she whispered. Kessler leaned in, her voice softer but sharp. "Try us, or we search you." Sarah's head jerked up, panic flaring. "Don't touch me," she said, her voice cracking. "Please." Ruiz stepped toward the satchel, his boots heavy. Sarah lunged, the cuffs yanking her back, her chair scraping. "No," she shouted, her face twisted. "Kiss la cop to shoulder, pinning her." "Calm down, or this gets worse," she said. Sarah's chest heaved, her eyes wild. She wasn't afraid of jail, of judgment of them. She was afraid of them finding out, of them taking her truth. Her belly wasn't just her baby. It was her past, her pain, her reason to keep breathing. The dog didn't bark at drugs or weapons. It barked at something deeper, something no one could see. She closed her eyes, and the world shifted, pulling her back. Flashback. A shattered village in Syria, the air thick with ash. Sarah, 29, in military fatigues, crouches in a crumbling building. She's a psychological operations specialist, trained to shape minds, to win hearts. Her unit is on a covert mission to evacuate civilians from a war zone. The plan is precise, calculated. But war doesn't follow plans. An airstrike hits, unpredicted, the ground shaking. Screams tear through the dust, buildings collapsing. Sarah's radio crackles, then dies. Her friend, Lena, takes shrapnel to the chest, her blood pooling in the dirt. Sarah drags her to cover. Her hands slick, but Lena's gone. Then she sees her, a girl, 6 years old, clutching a doll, running through the rubble. Sarah shouts her name, Zara, but a second strike buries them. When Sarah wakes, her leg is broken, her ears ringing. Zara is gone. The doll lies in the ash, charred, broken. Sarah takes it, a child's scarf, a notebook to write her guilt. The mission fails. The pain is hers forever. She blinks, back in the room, the bulb humming. Kessler watches her, her eyes narrowing. "Where'd you go, Mitchell?" she asks. Sarah doesn't answer. The memory is a knife, cutting deeper every time. Ruiz lifts the satchel, unzipping it slowly. Sarah's breath catches, her body rigid. "Don't," she whispers, her voice barely there. Ruiz pauses, glancing at Kessler. She nods, and he pulls out a small, charred doll, its dress blackened, one arm missing. The agents stare, confused. "This," Ruiz says, holding it up, "this is what you're protecting?" Sarah's eyes lock on the doll, her face crumpling. "You don't get it," she says, her voice hollow. "You can't." Kessler sets her clipboard down, her expression shifting. "Then tell me," she says. Sarah shakes her head, her throat tight. She can't say Zara's name. Not here, not to them. The doll isn't just a doll. It's Zara, the girl she couldn't save, the weight she carries. She was a soldier, a specialist, a protector once. Now she's a ghost, haunted by a past she can't escape. The baby kicks again, a reminder of why she's running. Not just for herself, but for the life she's carrying. A chance to do better, to save someone this time. Another memory surfaces. A hospital room, sterile and cold. Sarah, 30, sits on a bed, her leg in a cast, her face gaunt. The doctor speaks, her voice gentle. "PTSD," she says. "You need help, Sarah." Sarah doesn't listen. She leaves, the discharge papers crumpled in her hand. She drifts from city to city, job to job, always running. The satchel goes with her, holding the doll, the scarf, the notebook filled with scribbled words. Zara's name, dates, apologies. She writes to her every night, a ritual to keep the guilt at bay. It's not enough, but it's all she has. It keeps her sane, keeps her from breaking. She tells herself she's honoring Zara, but she knows she's fleeing her. The room feels smaller now, the walls closing in. Kessler sits across from her, her voice calm. "Who's the doll for, Sarah?" she asks. Sarah doesn't answer, her eyes distant. Ruiz tosses the doll on the table, its plastic arm clattering. "This isn't adding up," he says. "You're ex-military, psych ops. You know how this looks." Sarah's head jerks up. "You check my file?" she asks, her voice sharp. Kessler nods. "Medical discharge, 2018. Care to explain?" Sarah's laugh is bitter, broken. "You think you know me?" she says. "You don't know anything." She's not running from a crime. She's not a smuggler, a terrorist, a threat. She's running from herself, from the memories that claw at her every night. The doll, the scarf, the notebook, they're not evidence of guilt. They're her lifeline, the only pieces of Zara she could salvage. The dog didn't bark at her belly because of her baby. It barked at the scent of ash, of fire, of a tragedy burned into her soul. A scent that clings to her no matter how far she runs. She was minutes away from boarding, from leaving it all behind. But the dog caught a scent, not of danger, but of her past, her failure, her loss. Kessler watches her, her eyes searching. There's a flicker in her gaze, something like recognition. She steps out, leaving Ruiz to guard her. Sarah slumps in the chair, her head bowed. The doll stares at her from the table, its single arm accusing. She wants to reach for it, to hold it, but the cuffs bite into her wrists. She's trapped, her secrets spilling out. She wonders if this is the end, if they'll take her satchel, her truth, and lock her away. She wonders if she can survive without it, without Zara. Her baby kicks a soft nudge, and she clings to it, a promise she won't fail again. Kessler returns, her face unreadable. She holds a file, thicker now. "Tell me about Syria," she says, her voice quiet. Sarah's breath catches. "What?" she says, her eyes narrowing. Kessler sits, opening the file. 2017. Civilian evacuation. You were there. Sarah's heart pounds. How do you know that? She asks. Kessler doesn't answer, just watches her. What happened, Sarah? She says. Sarah shakes her head, her voice hoarse. Don't, she says. Don't go there. But Kessler presses on. A girl died, she says. You were there. The room spins. Sarah's vision blurs, the memory crashing over her. The girl, Zara, running through the rubble, her doll clutched tight. Sarah reaches for her, shouting her name, but the airstrike hits, swallowing them in fire. Sarah wakes in the debris, her legs shattered, her ears ringing. Zara is gone. The doll lies in the ash, half-burned. Sarah takes it, the scarf, anything she can carry. She writes Zara's name in a notebook, over and over, a prayer, a plea. She doesn't know if Zara was her real name, but it's hers now. Zara, the girl she couldn't save. She's shaking now, her breath ragged. Stop, she says, her voice a plea. Kessler leans forward, her voice steady. I was there too, she says. Sarah freezes, her eyes meeting Kessler's. What? She whispers. Kessler nods, her face softening. You pulled me out, she says. You carried me through the rubble. I'd be dead without you. Sarah's mind reels. She doesn't remember Kessler, doesn't remember saving anyone. All she remembers is Zara, the failure, the guilt. No, she says, shaking her head. You're wrong. But Kessler's eyes are certain. It was you, she says. Kessler reaches for the satchel, her movements slow. Sarah tenses, but she doesn't stop her. Kessler pulls out the notebook, its pages worn, yellowed. She opens it, reading silently. Her face changes, her eyes glistening. Zara, she says, her voice barely audible. Sarah's throat tightens, tears spilling. Don't say her name, she says, her voice breaking. Kessler looks at her, her expression raw. She wasn't your fault, she says. Sarah shakes her head, sobbing. I didn't save her, she says. I let her die. Kessler closes the notebook, her hand steady. You saved me, she says. You saved others. You're not what you think. Sarah doesn't answer, her head bowed. The room is silent, the clock ticking. Kessler stands, her voice firm. You're not a threat, she says. You're a woman who's been running too long. She uncuffs her, her touch gentle. Go, she says. Take your satchel, but stop running. Sarah looks at her, her eyes searching. She doesn't know if she can. She doesn't know if she's ready. She takes the satchel, the doll, the notebook. She walks out, the terminal quieter now, the crowd gone. Her flight is long gone. Dublin a dream she'll never chase. She stands by a window, watching planes climb into the dusk, their lights fading. The satchel is light, but she holds it close. It's not evidence, not a crime. It's Zara, her guilt, her reason to keep going. The baby kicks again, a promise, a hope. She's not a hero, not a villain. She's just Sarah, a woman buried under memories, trying to survive for the life inside her. I don't know if Sarah ever stopped running. I don't know if she found peace. But I know she carried that satchel, that doll, that name wherever she went. She wasn't hiding a crime. She was hiding a wound, one that bled every day. The dog didn't bark at her baby. It barked at the sin of ash, of a fire that burned years ago, a fire that still burned in her. We all carry something, a regret, a loss, a secret that haunts us. Sarah's was heavier, sharper, but it was hers. And maybe, just maybe, Kessler's words gave her a chance to carry it differently. Don't wait to face your own wounds. Don't wait for a dog to catch the scent, for the world to force your truth. Look at what you're carrying. Share it, even if it hurts. Because one day, you might realize you've been running from yourself, and you had the chance to stop all along. If this story moved you, drop a comment below. What's something you've carried that no one else sees? I'd love to hear your story.